Alrighty, I guess we're live. So, I was trying to watch the new episode of What If, and I can't do it. So, normally, I'm still learning kind of how I like do things. My videos are bad. I only have 2. They're not edited because I haven't figured out a good way to do that yet. So, cut me some slack. But I want to talk about this stuff. I got like 10 minutes in, and I just can't. Normally, I would watch these once, gather my thoughts, come back, watch them again, either while doing this or while, or just talking about it. I don't care. I don't care anymore. I don't watch these for me. The only way that I'm watching this is to talk about it on YouTube. So hopefully I don't fully know the rules. I hope this doesn't get me into too much trouble. I'm going to turn the volume down. I'm just going to go through what I already saw quickly and give you my thoughts, make some observations, and then once I catch up with where I was, it's going to be me watching it in real time. So hope that's okay, YouTube. I don't know how it works. All right. Okay. Skip through. Skip the intro.
I am your guy.
Watcher, blah, blah, blah.
What if the galaxy, to your eyes, 100 billion points of light, but where you see light, I see your destiny determined by your nature.
Okay, so the episode starts where Guardians starts on Morag, with Star-Lord walking up to the Temple of Power, or the Power Stone, and he's going to do the thing from Guardians, and then, spoiler alert, not really, it's T'Challa. He gets the thing, and he reveals himself to Korath, who arrives, and that's kind of still the same. Back up a little context. Okay, so the last one I did was on Agent Carter, Captain Carter, where I kind of went over, and again, Disney hasn't said this out loud. This is just what I've been able to gather, and they do kind of imply it with the Watcher's narration in the first episode. Basically, What If is the point of What If is to take a Marvel story. In the comics, it was take a previous comic issue from Marvel, alter one thing, and then see how the story would basically be drastically different if you started from this new timeline where it went this way instead of that way. And they set it up to do that same thing with the MCU. That's what Agent Carter was. It was like, okay, so what if Captain America, the First Avenger, but then this thing happens and it changes everything. The problem with that episode was that's not how it works. It doesn't do that. They change literally everything. Pick one thing to, look at through the lens of politics and get really fucking butthurt about, and then just make the whole rest of that episode about that thing. So far, I can't say for sure that this one does that. You could definitely look at it through that lens. I would say more so what this one does is, again, alters everything arbitrarily, whether or not it would have a chain reaction that would have affected the events of Guardians 1. This one just decides Black Panther's way better than Star-Lord, which, while true, does not justify the leap they have to make to get here. You know what I mean? Arguably, well, that's the thing. It's not true, because he's a completely different person, because if he was taken as a child, he would have never learned the things he learns. Star-Lord is only the way he is in the movies because he was taken as a child and raised by Ravagers. T'Challa, as Black Panther in the main universe, is only the way he is because he's a member of the royal family who grew up in Wakanda, became the Black Panther in adulthood, got the heart-shaped herb, so he got his, enhanced physiology, his powers, and his suit and his training and all the things that make him Black Panther. But that didn't happen until he was 20-something, probably, or 18, who knows. But point being, he was not 10 or 9 or however old he's supposed to be. So in this universe, where rather than Star-Lord getting abducted by the Ravagers, T'Challa got abducted by the Ravagers, their history should be the same. The same things should have happened to them. The same skills should have been learned. The only thing that's different is their personality, which you could argue would drastically alter how they went about everything in their life and would make everything different. Now, while that's fair to say, this show just has to posit that Star-Lord, even as a child, was just way more intelligent, charming, likable, physically fit, athletic, everything. He's just better in every possible way than Peter Quill ever was going to be. Even as children, he was the superior child, and he became the superior man. And that's basically where we go from in this episode. So I'm going to kind of flip through this because this scene was nauseating. So that's where it starts. You get the bit from Guardians where Korath meets Peter Quill, and he's like, there's another name you might know me by, Star-Lord. And then Korath goes, who? Which is a big funny joke because Peter Quill's just a 2-bit criminal in space. He's not really done anything important or useful to anybody. He's just some other random asshole in space. So his stupid made-up nickname that he gave himself, it doesn't mean anything. It's literally meaningless. In this, Korath starts fangirling over T'Challa, the Star-Lord, who's like the most legendary hero in the galaxy, who everybody's obsessed with. He's saved planets, he's saved women, princesses, he's done everything. He's the coolest dude who ever existed on Earth, in space. Sorry, I was going to say on Earth, ever, in the galaxy, everywhere. Which, I'm like, I can't say that couldn't happen. It's just one of those, like, that's not story motivated. You just wanted to elevate this character over other characters. So you're like, yeah, you know how that other guy, the whole point of him was he was flawed and he sucked at everything? This guy has no flaws and he's amazing at everything, whether he be on Earth, whether he be in space, whether he be in a different dimension. T'Challa is just always going to be awesome no matter what he does because he's just better than you are. Always, forever. So, yeah, Korath fangirls about, and they have this horribly written, just nonsensical banter where he just literally fawns at his feet and is like excited to spar with him with his gun, which is not what sparring means. And then T'Challa beats his ass, and then he kicks the other, what are they, the Sakarans, beats them up, takes the Power Stone, takes Korath with him for reasons. Then when he's outside and he's confronted by the rest of the Sakaran soldiers that are accompanying Korath, like in the movie, he says a thing that, again, is dumb and doesn't make sense because we're starting in media res here, even though the whole point of What If is you kind of got to start from the point where things are different, otherwise you lose all context. This changes something from when T'Challa was a child, but the episode starts, we get like 10 minutes of how things are already different. So we're already lost in the weeds. We don't know what's different or why, so you just kind of have to accept it and just be like, oh yeah, well, of course everything's different because T'Challa's Star-Lord instead, which is a meaningless title, except for now T'Challa has it, so it's the most meaningful, coolest thing that's ever happened, ever, in history, for reasons. He says, Ravagers never fly alone, which is a little, basically like a safe word for Yondu to come back him up. It's not true. They flew alone all the time, including Peter, because they were criminals. They were pirates, basically. They were all out for themselves. It was one man for all, blah, blah, blah. So he recruits Korath against his will because he's unconscious. Okay, yeah. I missed that line the first time. That's why things are different. Because T'Challa is so charming and so good and so inspiring, he convinced Yondu and the Ravagers to not be pirates anymore. So now they're good guys. So now, rather than taking the Power Stone to sell it to the broker, whoever, on wherever the planet Nova's on, I forgot the name, Xandar, that's the one. Now they're good boys and girls who are heroes and do good things for the galaxy, for everybody. Cause reasons. No other reason than that. Just because reasons. So, they're talking about how they're not going to sell it. And that's how the old days were. That's how it used to be. They used to be pirates.
No treasure is worth as much as the
They saved.
can be done with it.
Yeah.
That's my boy.
So this sweet little black boy changed this space goblin's life and made him the best dad ever. I guess Peter was just unlovable. He was just an uninspiring lump of doo-doo who couldn't convince anyone to do anything, including not kidnap him or eat him. So it's Peter's fault. It's Peter's fault everybody's a bad guy. He should have been more inspiring. He should have known how to make everyone be good from the age of 10. That's what he should have done. Then everything would have been fine. Most of the MCU wouldn't happen, as I've sort of had hinted to me by what I've seen. Basically, all the galaxy problems would have been solved if T'Challa had been Star-Lord instead of Peter, which is not a thing that I think when these were announced and everybody kind of saw this series coming and they were kind of wondering, like, okay, well, that's a cool idea. Where could we go with that? What different versions of the MCU could we see? Like, what crazy different things would we be discovering? You know, what kind of fun stories could you tell in that aspect? And I think a lot of people rightly thought endless possibilities. The one that threw everybody for a loop was this one, I feel, in the trailers. Like, because you saw the Carter one, people were like, oh, that's a cool idea. They saw the zombies, they saw Doctor Strange doing some spooky stuff, they saw a lot of different things. This one and the Carter one are the ones that got the most press, I would say. We saw the most footage of that in trailers. So this one, me and everyone I've talked to and people I talked to on the internet, all were just sort of like, that's a weird one. I've never even had that thought one time. How creative. It's not though. It's just, gotta put on my tinfoil hat for a second. If I had to guess a reason somebody pitched this idea, was because cards on the table. We all know everybody who writes for Disney or works in Hollywood or writes anything creative at this point, they're liberal and they have to be, or they don't get jobs. And you basically had to have been grandfathered in from like several years back to be not even just conservative, but to be like moderate or like apolitical in Hollywood. New people don't get hired on that. If you are not an incredibly liberal activist, you don't get hired at Disney. And one person whose politics are, let's say, ambiguous at best, but like almost certainly he's probably conservative, is Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt, fun, lovable dude. Most people, I would say the general audience loves him because he's just an everyman. He's a good-looking white dude. That's what you expect. He's great on Parks and Rec, but in terms of like as an action hero, yes, you've seen a million of him. He's not that special, but he's charming and he does his job. He's great. People like Chris Pratt. Everyone who doesn't like Chris Pratt are people who are atheist, vegan, left-wing activists who hate him for hunting, eating meat, being Christian, and not going to Joe Biden's fundraiser. Not even like actively supporting Donald Trump or saying like some pretty radical right-wing things, just keeping his shit to himself, but obviously being an outspoken Christian. They don't like Chris Pratt because he's conservative. So if I had to guess why somebody in the writers' room went, what if T'Challa was Star-Lord, a thing no one's ever asked about ever or wondered about? It'd be like, how could we get Chris Pratt out of the MCU and get one last really cool thing for Chadwick Boseman? Because that's all it is it's that. It's like it's can we make that third white Chris go away? And yeah, you can. Animated form is really easy. I really can't see any other motivation for it. Because it's the logic they have to take to get T'Challa in space. Which I think they're also going to subvert later if what I heard is correct. But yeah, now the logic to get him to be Star-Lord is baffling. It, like the other ones, like everything they put on Disney Plus, it requires everyone to be a fucking moron for this to take place. But let's continue. All right, they go into space. Flashback to Wakanda. T'Challa wants to go see the world. T'Chaka's like, nah, you don't want to do that. Despite all his dad's warnings, he decides to go like hunting at night with a javelin, goes outside the dome that protects Wakanda, which I guess that's not the change, because that's the thing. They didn't do it in this one. Maybe I haven't gotten to it yet. Maybe I'm jumping the gun. It's probably doing it live. In the last one, they very explicitly pointed out the moment that splits the universe in two, and now it's an alternate universe, which was the dumbest thing possible. It was Peggy Carter, when she was asked to leave the room, says no. And stands up for women everywhere for all time. Except that's not why that happened, and it's completely out of context, and they're putting a feminist bent that wasn't there. But I digress. They don't really give you one of those moments in this. They don't say, this is specifically the decision that was made differently that changed events that alters this entire timeline. In this, off-screen, some people make a bad choice. Not even that. They do a dumb thing that could have easily happened in the MCU. We never see it, but it's like, yeah, that makes sense. But then they make it not make sense like right afterwards.
The wrong place.
So T'Challa, literally right outside his home in Wakanda, gets abducted by the Ravagers. And like nobody catches on. There's no like alerts about a spaceship in Wakandan airspace. Okay. That's what's different. Yondu outsourced the entire job, the big job that Ego paid him to do, which is to bring his son back to him, to his guys, I guess. He stayed up in space and let them go down to Earth to do it themselves, which I didn't even know Yondu was the guy in the ship in Guardians 1. I just knew the Ravagers took him. That's all I knew. So again, is that contrived? I don't know. There's no confirming or denying it because it never happened on screen. They're just kind of saying that it did. Now, 9 years later, 7 years later. You grabbed the wrong kid. And Kraglin's dumb. That follows him into... Is that Taserface? Yeah. Okay, so they mistakenly go to the wrong part of Earth and get the wrong child, who Yondu knows who they're going after. His name is Peter Quill. He looks like this. He pulls up a little holographic image on his little wrist computer and shows them what Peter looks like. Meaning he knows his name. He knows what he looks like. He probably knows exactly what point on Earth he is, where he is. Scratch that. He must know. Because Ego put a baby in his mom and spent like years on Earth with her. He knows where Meredith is. He knows where his son is. All they had to do, like what they did in Guardians, is send. Just do what they did in Guardians. Just do the movie. Just do that. Go get him. He's here. Bring him to me from there. That's it. Instead, Yondu stayed behind, didn't give them an address, said, go to Earth and get this kid. They went and grabbed seemingly any random kid. Then Kraglin says something that kind of explains it away. All humans look alike. Right. So, Kraglin brings up a good point, which, okay, I'm not going to say that. He brings up a point that only makes sense if Yondu was a total dick and didn't tell them what they needed to know, which is that you need to go to this specific address in Missouri. That's where you're going. Instead, he's like, go to Earth, find a kid. Vaguely, just go. So they go, and Kraglin actually does something smart. He's like, okay, well, he's not technically from Earth. He's going to be a little different from humans. He might have some sort of different energy signature, like the fact that he's got alien DNA. Maybe he's like radioactive or something. Like, yeah, we went to the only place on Earth where there's anything out of the ordinary, which is Wakanda. Okay, fair. There's a giant space meteor there. Whatever scanners they have, it would pop up there, I assume. So Kraglin says, he's like, yeah, if there's anything not from Earth on Earth, that's where it is. But then little boy T'Challa explains that immediately. We have a giant space meteor. That's why that happened. Okay, cool. T'Challa wants to explore. So does Yondu. And that's it. That is all the reason you get as to why having this royal prince whom he kidnapped on his ship, which was a mistake, knowing it's the wrong kid, knowing where the actual kid is, and having a fucking spaceship, you just take this one back, go get the one you were paid to get, and continue on with the movie called Guardians of the Galaxy and change nothing. They don't do that. Instead, they completely abandon the mission, steal this random young black child who happens to be royalty, and then just fuck off. They just leave. They just go do Ravager stuff, and presumably in that 20-year time span, T'Challa makes all of their hearts grow 3 sizes that day, and they all become good guys, and they save the planet. Well, a bunch of planets, the galaxy. They become the Guardians of the Galaxy, more or less. The Ravagers are the Guardians of the Galaxy. He just made them better. He just made everybody better and taught them the error of their ways, because at like 10 or 13 or however old he's supposed to be, he's a fully formed, beautiful human who always does the right thing and never struggles, like teenagers do with what right and wrong is. Because he was royal and special and richer than you and just better. Just better in every possible way. He's a better boy. He's a much better boy than Peter. Peter was a dumb, stupid, southern white boy. Now, I'm going to try to not say that every time, because that's just me reading into things. I don't think any racial message is being put here, but I do think it is, yes, T'Challa is the best. I think that is absolutely a Disney mandate. Black, female, and gay characters get elevated above straight white male characters all the time. That's what they've been doing. That's what they're going to continue to do going into Phase 4. I don't necessarily think that that's them trying to be racist against Chris Pratt or Peter Quill. I think it's just that. It's just in their heads, that is just the way that it is. It's just, yes, he would just obviously be better, which you could justify. I would actually, based on the way he was raised and where he was raised, I would expect T'Challa to be smarter and a little bit more well-formed at that age, because he'd probably have like royal schooling. I don't think they thought that much into it, the writers. I think they thought, well, we hate Star-Lord because he's played by Chris Pratt, and we love Black Panther because he was portrayed by Chadwick Boseman, who sadly passed away. He was a brilliant actor, by the way. So let's just make him real cool and him real dumb, and he just goes over there, and it doesn't matter what he does after that. Because now T'Challa's in space. So from there, adventures ensue. And they become the best boys ever. 20 years later, they just got the Power Stone. Going to some space bar somewhere in the galaxy. We got T'Challa, Korath, Yondu, Kraglin, and Taserface. Going to the club. It's a literal, it's like a club, but in space and bigger. They get drinks. Korath's still fanboying out. Talking about all the cool shit he's done because he's so dope. Bank heist they stole from the Skrulls, I guess. Hey, look, a random lady Ravager who was never there before.
Never hurts to hurt a scroll, right? That's okay for Kraglin's teeth.
Got the side do, the Tila haircut.
Barely made it out of that one. How exactly did you stop Thanos? Mad tight. This needs to happen to you.
Oh, no, I'm a big enough man to admit when I'm wrong. T'Challa here showed me there was more than one way to reallocate the universe's resources.
Sometimes the best weapon in your arsenal is just a good argument.
Aye, aye, Command.
So that broke me. That's why I stopped watching. T'Challa's so amazing. If he had been in space and run into Thanos and heard his plan, the thing that all the movies were building up towards, the culmination of 12 years and 20 some odd movies worth of filmmaking, the thing that the MCU is based on, Loki was accused of this a little bit too, that show, making the Infinity Stones like worthless. And it was never really explained, so I'm not going to say anything about that. I had my own theories, but none of them were ever proven or disproven, and that show was terrible, so I don't really care. If T'Challa, the bestest boy, had been in space and met Thanos and heard his plan that more or less formed the Avengers, formed all the events of the MCU. If T'Challa had got to him first, well, he would have given him a stern talking to about resource management, and Thanos would have seen the error of his ways, joined the Ravagers, and then been subservient to Black Panther, to T'Challa. Star Panther, Black Star, Black Panther Star, Space Panther. Nothing means anything. Everything's different and bad, and it does just... I know it's a cartoon set in an alternate universe, but it does it does give context to the actual universe the way they're writing it. Now, you can just argue out of hand, you should just throw this shit away because it's not consistent with the characters in the film. Everybody behaves, including T'Challa. I haven't really commented on it. T'Challa is like an exaggerated version of himself insofar as he isn't. Everybody is a cocky, flawless, beautiful, wonderful, perfect human. He was that way. Peggy was that way. It's only the characters that they want to be bad guys that they give any flaws, which I gotta say is not why anybody likes the MCU. That's not how it started. That's not the way they wrote the characters. That's not what anybody likes about it. They like the fact that they're flawed, that they're human, and that they're relatable. And then not everybody's perfect. A lot of them can do some really cool stuff, and a lot of them have really good qualities, but a lot of them also have really bad qualities. And T'Challa was no different. T'Challa, we got to spend such little time with him. It was really just Civil War in his own movie, and I would argue his own movie kind of doesn't really do much for his character. You don't really learn more about him, honestly. A little bit about his relationship with his dad, but mostly T'Challa is just kind of a plank in that movie. But in Civil War, we learned that he's very dutiful. He loves his father. He loves his country. He's willing to do what's right, but he's a warrior. He's more suited to fighting, to leading the charge. He's not so good at the politics. He's not so good at running a kingdom. He's a warrior. That's what he does, and that's why when his father is murdered, he's immediately enraged and vengeful and bloodthirsty, and will do anything to accomplish his goal. That's what we learned about T'Challa. In this, he's a much more happier, level-headed, well-rounded human being, despite none of those events ever happening to, develop and further his character because it's an alternate universe. We just assume he went to space and became the beautiful, bestest, brightest boy in the universe. And stopped Thanos from doing the things that Thanos does. He just put Thanos in his place, just absolutely cucked him and just made him his bitch. Thanos works for T'Challa now.
Although I still assert my plan was not without its merits.
Pretty sure it's still just genocide, big guy.
And I'm pretty sure it's efficient.
And they're laughing about the fact that he almost genocided the universe.
Your money is no good here.
Oh, fuck off. Jesus Christ. I haven't seen from this point forward, so these are all fresh reactions. Drax works at the fucking bar. Wherever this is. Why, though? Let's find out. Probably no reason.
No, seriously, we only take cash.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have cash.
Wait, you are the Star-Lord.
Oh my God. You're Star-Lord. You're amazing.
All of the days work.
No, it took several days. 6, in fact. Let us take a picture to send to my wife and daughter.
I would prefer.
Oh! I don't understand. That's just all they're trying to say. If T'Challa had gotten more exposure, I guess this is a way you could frame it in a metatextual sense. If this character had gotten more exposure, none of the problems in Marvel would have even happened because he would have just solved them all because he's awesome. Which from a metatext standpoint is not a great point because that just means it would be boring and there would be no stories. If you made a character so flawless and perfect and wonderful that there were no conflicts, there would have been no Kree invasion of Drax's planet, and his family would still be alive, thus making him an irrelevant side character. He's just an alien. He's just an alien extra. Basically, he works at the bar. This incredibly powerful, super strong being, he works at the bar. He's what else is he gonna do? Got a wife and kids, just a working man. No point to have him do anything cool in any stories ever again. This is what happens when you try too hard to elevate a character and you don't give them any flaws or any struggles or any pathos. You give them nothing to overcome. There are no struggles for them or anyone else around them. It's just everything works out and everything's totally cool and fine.
You should take another one. You look terrible. I look great.
I'm sure it's fine.
No, I insist.
They're trying to have this like really fast-paced comedic tone to these cartoons, and they really don't work.
Pretty good from where I'm standing.
Nebula.
Hey, Cha-Cha.
What in the shit?
Pretty valuable loot you got here. The big guy know you have this?
You mean your father?
He's lucky I call him the big guy.
You know he got it now. You should talk to him. He really has changed.
The past doesn't. You still wear your past around your neck.
Okay, so Nebula's like super tall and blonde and hot and looks like Jessica Rabbit for I don't know why. She got a wig, I guess. She didn't like the baldness anymore. But presumably it seems that Thanos did still torture and mutilate her, so she is still kind of cyborgy. But now she's like hot. I don't know. Let's keep going.
You ever think of going back?
Not much to go back to. When I was young, Yondu attempted to return me to Wakanda, but it had been destroyed.
I'm sorry.
Just another senseless war. Baba won. That was all humans knew. Turns out he was right.
Okay, so I think this is a lie because I read the summary of the plot, and yeah, from memory, this is I think this is bullshit. Yondu lied to him, but apparently Yondu's saying like, "Oh, Wakanda was destroyed." Okay, whatever. I'm not going to go into that how dumb that would be if that were the case because I don't know that it is. I think it's a lie. So,
And now you save everyone else's. That's the name of this tune, huh?
there is a reason he was not returned back, but it's dishonesty.
Do I have a job for you? They're called the Embers of Genesis.
Okay,
Cosmic
MacGuffin.
From an ancient supernova with the power
She
of
still dresses exactly the same, but she's got blonde hair now. I don't understand why.
Dying planet in minutes. And with a payload the size we're
What a
talking,
weird
Could
choice.
feed billions of people on millions of worlds and eradicate hunger across the galaxy.
Don't tell Captain Genocide over here. You must spoil his fun.
new guy's pretty funny.
Oh, they found a resource that can solve hunger. So Thanos is extra stupid, and they're going to keep laughing at his expense for wanting to kill half the universe.
Alone, daughter. Wait. She's your offspring? Adopted.
It's a long story. I've been trying to get him into counseling. So who's the mark?
Tanalier Tavon, also known as
The Collector? As in the most ruthless kingpin in the intergalactic...
That's not what he is, but all right.
It was, but when I went straight, Tavon saw an opening. Filled the power vacuum.
We can all agree that the Collector is the...
They're not crime lords. Thanos is a warlord, and you could think of him as a crime lord. He's a collector. Here's the thing, the collector still hasn't really been discussed whether or not he's like an ancient elder or cosmic being like they are in the comics. I think he's just an alien man who collects rare things throughout the galaxy. So I guess you could think of him as like a crime lord, but he's more like a scummy art dealer. I don't know. He's like not a smuggler, but what do you call it? Like a pawn shop, like a pawnbroker? I don't know. What's the fancier international version of that? A dealer of exotic things. I don't know.
FYI, the Collector does not offer dental. This is suicide, T'Challa. Not even I can get through his defenses. You dig? This maniac won't do you the kindness of killing you. He'll dissect you for a science project, frame whatever's left, and hang you up on the wall.
So should I mark you down as an undecided?
So long as the Collector's involved, we are not.
Okay. I have not much to say. It's just going on.
may be the soul of this ship, but I am still the captain.
We are Ravagers. We do not back down from a fight.
No.
You need to change that name because if you're like good guys now, Ravager is still like
Right? Robin Leach.
Robin Hood.
it's bad.
Whatever. That's our racket.
It's a bad thing.
Pockets for loose coins.
Who's Robin
Who
Leach?
want to change the galaxy?
Is Robin Leach somebody important?
We set out to do
Is that a funny joke I
This
missed?
time we robbed the
Maybe. Robin Leach. Ah, British journalist. Okay. Don't know who that is. Bad joke. Let's keep going.
Oh, jeez. Never have been any good at saying no to you, kid.
The collector's got a famous key.
That's such an odd contrast.
A museum that doubles as his base of operations. A mining colony in the severed head of an ancient celestial.
Okay, so he's still in nowhere.
He's got the Black Order doing security. Take it from me. They're bad news. How do you plan on sneaking
So,
back?
like Thanos is just a straight up loser in this. Like he just decided not to be a bad guy, and the Collector just like took all his shit. Just took all of his henchmen, all of his everything.
I'm gonna knock on their front door like a lady.
The Lady Nebula, Captain Udonta, I'm here to fetch you for my master.
Yondu and I will pose as sellers looking to unload that orb you recovered on Morag.
Yeah, so
Clearly,
they're
it'll
doing
be
the same thing.
T'Challa inside.
I had a security.
Put him in a box.
Looks like they got an exhibit running the museum.
Hold it. Security scan.
That is when you caused the distraction.
I thought we were faking it.
Yeah, well, try calling the Captain Genocide again. New guy.
Captain Juice.
The Ravagers will start a riot.
Way to just make all the villains even more pathetic than they already were.
All units report to our position.
Now, Yondu and Nebula are free to distract the Collector. So that
We're
I
doing
can-
an Ocean's 11. We gotta tell the heist before we do it.
Amazing. No notes. Perfect.
Oh my god, Korath is freaking intolerable. He's absolutely ridiculous.
Cavalier Tavan, the Collector.
Oh, my dearest Nebula, aren't you a sight for a sore eye? Forgive me, I couldn't help myself.
Hey, you, creep show. If it's all the same to you, I'd just as soon get on with it.
Sounds like another voice they could not get back and then decided to just write him entirely differently anyway. That doesn't sound like Benicio del Toro. I wonder who that is. What if? Yeah, it's disappointing because that was like the big thing they sold it on was that they could get pretty much everyone from the movies to do their parts. And we're already seeing that. No, they did get him. That does not sound like him at all. How confusing. Okay. Weird choice, Benicio. He's also just like way more ripped.
And to think I'm old enough to remember when the Ravagers used to be fun.
What can I say? We went straight and I got square.
Hey, if you boys are done gossiping, I brought what you asked.
Ugh, weird choices.
Ah, the collection is much bigger than I anticipated. All this suffering, and for what?
My guess, he's compensating for something. Yeah, or small, if you catch my drift.
You are quite articulate.
Howard the Duck.
That, sir, is very close-minded.
You know,
I think that's still Seth Green. It sounds like him.
The Embers of Genesis. You know I can find them.
Cosmic Flora down the hall. Take a Louis at the Frost.
Hey, Howard, do you want to just like tell me where the most powerful thing in the universe is so I can go get it?
Sure, ignore that. Total snoop.
Destroy it. Give me the door.
You know what they say when you're out of luck. Always go down.
I'm pretty sure no one says that.
Oh,
Okay.
Really,
Totally.
So Howard's in the episode. That's kind of fun. I won't lie. I like that a lot. Oh, Proxima's more powerful than Thanos and everyone in the universe.
Sound the alarms. Lock down the building.
She just stopped Thanos with her shocky pokey staff. You know, because fuck it.
You always know how to bring the fun. Hold on, I need to hydrate.
Is that literally the Star Wars cantina? Yeah, it looks like it. The robot bartender.
Dude, we have to go.
Dude,
You crazy? Happy hour just started.
you know a thing T'Challa has never said or would say ever? What is that now? Magic necklace. Technical. Right, okay. So yeah, that was what I kind of had spoiled for me. Wakanda built a spaceship to go search for T'Challa when he was taken. And they found it. What the heck?
It cannot be.
Oh, it's like a display. They put the Dora Milaje uniforms on
Crown Prince of Wakanda
the
was
mannequins.
abducted from Earth by an alien spacecraft. If you have any information regarding his whereabouts, we ask that you respond
Right.
to this homing
T'Chaka sent out a spaceship.
T'Challa, Baba, if you are out there, you are one bright, burning light in the night sky of billions, and we will search every last one of them until we find you on this plane or the next.
That's cute. I like the actor that plays his dad.
Oh, Jaja. I hope you can understand. I had a debt with the collector, and you were the payment.
Yeah.
Okay, but what does he want T'Challa for?
Time for one of the greatest games.
You okay, kid? I was protecting you.
Are we talking about the mission, or is this family stuff?
Told me my homeland had been destroyed. My family killed. How is that protecting me?
Whoa! Guess it's family stuff.
Sometimes you need to hear a lie to see the truth. You're just like me, T'Challa.
How, though? Because you stole him is the only way.
You're an explorer, Star-Lord. And for people like you, like
That doesn't make any sense. It's just... No, you just... This is like Guardians, but worse. You know how, like, Yondu had a whole thing in Guardians 2 where he became a redeemable character because he didn't just steal Peter and then treat him terribly for, 20 years. He stole him with every intention of giving him to his dad, who was probably going to kill him and use him to take over the world. And then he decided, you know what? No, I'm going to keep this boy and not let that terrible thing happen to him, and I'm going to be a father, even if he hates me. And this, he's just a kidnapper. He just stole a child for no reason, for selfishness, and lied to him to keep him around. For no reason.
the past ain't nothing but a prison. You don't belong down there with them. You belong.
No, he
here.
absolutely does. He belongs at home with his family. You're wrong. You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong.
You are not my family. You never were.
That hurts.
Fuck off, Korath.
The collector is ready for you.
Did you just stab somebody in the face? You can't knock somebody out with a glaive. Hold on, I need to see that again. That was so weird.
The collector is ready for you.
He totally did. He knocked him out with the blade of his weapon. He just stabbed him in the face. But it didn't do anything. What the fuck?
I must apologize for all that awkwardness back there, Nebula. I simply
Jesus.
abhor drama.
Collector's got some
How
freaking
can you
abs.
suggest otherwise? What is it you want with me, Tavan?
There is a blank wall in the commissary that I just haven't been able to find the right piece for.
I am just an ordinary human. Hardly a work of art.
I must admit, now that I see you in the flesh, you are. Oh. Are you sure you cannot fly or shoot lasers out of your eyes or something?
Let's go a few rounds and you can find out.
I prefer you in the cage.
Where I come from, history has never looked kindly on those who locked men in cages.
Mark, make a note.
Yeah,
It appears he does
there it
have a
is.
superpower out. He can bore someone to death using only his sanctum. Let's not waste the wall space.
Thank you, Collector. You are the hero of the story. Said the same thing everybody's thinking. What did he say? Hold on, back that up. That was funny.
Oh, make a note. It appears he does have a superpower.
He has a superpower.
He can bore someone to death
Good.
using only his sanctum.
Bore someone to death
Let's
using
not
only his
waste
sanctimony.
the
Yeah,
Dissect
that's how I feel.
and strip his remains for parts.
I'm gonna dissect him because fuck it. What else do you do with him?
How could you do this to us? To my best friend T'Challa.
Thanos, I can't even believe you.
Us. Boom. But then again, there are two sides to every story.
Relax, new guy. I'm here to rescue you.
Nebula, if you betray everybody, you haven't
This
really.
was always the plan. I told T'Challa that the Collector was after him right from the jump.
Oh, they're doing an Ocean's 11. Got it. It's a
You see, I had
triple
this debt with the
cross,
Collector,
double
and,
cross, triple
well,
cross,
He's come to collect.
triple
What
cross.
does he want?
In a word, you, Jaja.
So she still has the medal around her eye, but she doesn't have like the arm or any of the other stuff. So I guess he met them before Thanos really fucked her up.
Oh, so all of this has been a triple cross? What? Classic stuff.
Hey, it was T'Challa's idea to keep you in the dark.
Because he knew I would never let him walk into a trap. Look where we ended up.
All the distraction, providing me the necessary cover to obtain this, the Embers of Genesis.
Hot dang, you guys are good.
We're gonna go fix the universe
Don't worry, he's keeping his escape.
with this thing we made up that exists now.
Even my slaves stand that you are foolish.
Wow, that was really silly. They left T'Challa with his necklace that he used to break out of the cells, which apparently were weak enough that he could do that with Earth metal. I suppose it is vibranium. It's probably a vibranium necklace.
I liked that thing you
He just landed a glass on his face that he's fine. Ebony Maw got killed with a regular gun.
I liked that thing you said about not locking people in cages.
Thank you. I am forever in your debt.
Oh, yeah. If there were a shoe to drop, that's it. It's a pretty weak offhand reference to it, but it's like, slavery bad. Or prison's bad. Don't keep people in cages. Okay. They don't go too far into that, which, you know, I gotta say, it's a thing that doesn't get brought up. I've watched a few different streamers and YouTubers talk about it, like, briefly, but just how, essentially just the idea of how Wakanda developed as a nation in the MCU doesn't really make any sense. Where they became the most technologically advanced, but also they still have things like trial by combat and like capital punishment. They are xenophobic, but also pacifist and also isolationist. So they don't like other people, but they also don't want to go conquer other people, and they also don't want to save other people. I don't know. It's a weird mismatch of political ideologies. But the big one that I just thought of just now is I'm like, they've had that meteor since the beginning, really, like since ancient Africa. So, which is different than in the comics where it was only there for like 10 years, basically, before Wakanda got a hold of it. Which is way cooler because it means they have some cool technology, but they're not like an Afro-futurist friggin' sci-fi super kingdom full of racist elitists, because that's really what they are at the end of the day. But yeah, like, no kids in cages. Okay, so T'Challa is familiar with the concept of slavery. Wakanda never thought, you know, maybe we have the resources and time and ability to, you know, prevent people from taking slaves from Africa. No, never came up. Never thought about that. Not your problem, right? Because you live in Wakanda and everything's beautiful and great there. Genuinely probably could have ended slavery like hundreds of years ago. Never did it. T'Challa grew up knowing that slavery existed and that his people did literally nothing, which retroactively makes Killmonger even more right. I mean, granted, he is a genocidal maniac who wants to like kill children, but he's 100% right about Wakanda. They're terrible. They suck. They've made them bad people in this movie. Well, Black Panther. All right, let's get through this shit. We're almost done. Whoa, hold up.
What kind of people leaves a party without saying goodbye?
Something tells me this happens to you a lot.
The collector has a rock fist for reasons.
That's quite a wallop, doesn't it? I hacked it off the carcass of a terribly chatty troll.
Oh, he's just wearing a
Your style, there's
Cronin
plenty more
fist.
we can play with.
Oh, he's like cyborged himself.
A dagger forged in dark.
Is that Captain America's shield? Get fucked.
Perhaps you prefer something that's more elegant.
And Mjolnir and Hela's helmet. What in Jesus' name is happening?
A necklace sword, courtesy of the Asgard.
Ah. He killed Hela and took her hat, and he also had Mjolnir and Captain Milton. Probably, you know what? I'm going to rewind that because I want to look at that case because I'm sure it's just full of nonsense.
A dagger forged in dark matter.
Dark matter. What else is that? Big gun, but I don't recognize it. A couple swords. Might just be generic stuff. I can't really tell.
Of the dark hills. Perhaps you prefer something that's more elegant.
There's Mjolnir right next to Cap's shield. Yep, he just has those things. Cool. Hela's helmet. I don't even...
Oh, that woman has taste. A necklace sword, courtesy of the Asgard.
I have no reason to suspect that that helmet she conjures out of nothing contains her powers. I don't know that that's how that would work. And from my comic book knowledge, I don't think that backs that up either. Not that they ever use comics anymore. Oh, Jesus H. They are just totally crossing wires here. Generic bad guys. I mean, I guess it's fair enough. The Sakarans didn't actually work for Thanos. Well, I mean, they did. He bought them or whatever, basically. But they're from Sakaar, the planet from Thor Ragnarok. And now they work for Tavan. Just because, I don't know. Guess he pays them.
Not crazy.
Thanos is going to go Hulk it up, I guess. Yeah, he's laser proof. But he got his ass kicked by Proxima Midnight somehow. Now he's going to fight Cold Obsidian, the big guy. Who I guess is not any bigger or stronger than Thanos is. Why? Why is she so deadly all of a sudden? Thanos. Proxima Midnight could just beat Thanos. Why was she ever working for him?
Has abandoned you. Karma.
Maybe you haven't had. A Ravager never flies solo.
That's a thing you made up. No.
Sweet. Now it's a party. Ain't no way in hell.
Again, everybody just ask. Everybody, you know, this is a thing that I complain about some comic book writers a lot with, which is that Bendis is guilty of this sometimes. Sometimes he's very good at, like, varying up his language. But, like, Tom King is one. Nick Spencer's another. A lot of newer writers. They don't know how to give characters a voice. They write things they think would be funny or clever or, like, deep or introspective to put into the book. And they have certain characters say them, and it doesn't matter if that character would ever say that thing or not. They just want someone to say it. So a lot of characters just sound like the writer. They don't know how to write different voices. That's how these shows are starting to feel. The Peggy Carter episode felt that way. This one feels that way, where they're just like, yeah, just make people say shit that would never be in their vernacular. Like, why would Tana Lear be like, oh, sweet, bro? Why would T'Challa ever say, oh, dude? Nobody would do. An African prince wouldn't talk like a surfer, and neither would a space collector man. Space Liberace. It's bad writing. They don't try to make anybody sound distinct or like write them the way that they were written in the movies. And it's just, you don't have to be as good a writer as James Gunn or the Russos or whoever, but you just have to write them consistently with their character.
Leave here without my kid.
You ain't your kid, you lying bastard. God, watching Thanos get his ass kicked by his own henchmen. Also, there's like no blood. She's slicing up his legs, but nothing's happening to him. He's just getting hurt. And then Nebula saves the day. That's that what? No. That was brutal. They just fed the food growing thing into a big henchman guy. And he like exploded into a plant.
What about Yondu and T'Challa?
I'm sure they're doing fine.
And now with teamwork, they can beat him up. Or not. Because they're regular men.
Yes, sticky fingers.
Work? Who's the clue?
You are, because you lied to me.
Fair point. That all you got?
I gotta mention too something somebody brought up. I think it was probably Mahler's channel. I was watching EFAP or something, and they bring up things about Black Panther that I haven't really thought about, but a lot of them are good points. Some I don't agree with. I still think that's an okay movie, but it's not great. But yeah, what we find out about T'Challa in that movie is he sucks. Like, he's not anything without the magic leaf or the vibranium suit. He's not a good fighter. He's not smart. He's not a good politician. He's not a good leader. He's a regular average guy. Which is, again, begs the question why in this he's amazing. Because, like, yeah, he's got space technology, but like you were Wakandan, you basically already had space technology. You shouldn't be any better now than you were without your super crap that you had in Black Panther. But he's amazing in this show. He can just do whatever, anything.
There is not a corner in this galaxy beyond my grasp. Sure.
So you have all these fancy techno controls on you
I trust you'll know what to do with
to access your armory, but they don't access your collection.
Karina, can I have my bracelet now? No touching, Karina. No. No. Stay. Stop and think. I took care of all of you. I put a roof over your heads. Oh, karma.
Really? He said karma. He's familiar with the concept of karma.
We're never getting out of here.
You know, an earth thing.
to disguise.
I am also confused as to how things can grow inside the head of a dead celestial. Don't imagine there's like soil in there. Maybe there is. I don't know.
And I will
Maybe
see
they
you
put soil down when they settled on nowhere. Hey, Cosmo.
Looks like we got a stowaway. Always did have a soft spot for runaways.
Look, T'Challa, I just wanted to say,
There's no need. I was the one who told you I wanted to see the world. All you did was show me the universe.
oh yeah, she really is a beaut, isn't she?
I've always felt at home up here. But now, knowing everything, I'm not quite sure where I belong.
Seen a lot of space travelers in my day, kid. And if I've learned anything from watching you, on any planet, among any people, there ain't no place in this galaxy where you don't belong. Where you want to be? That's the question, isn't it? You're just going to have to follow your heart on that one, Mr. Star-Lord.
All right, so he's going to go home. Back to Wakanda.
My son, I knew you would find your way home to us.
I'm sorry it took me so long. Let me introduce you to the family I made along the way.
You must be T'Challa's father. Pleased to meet you, sir. Your son is a galactic hero.
My friend, that sounds an awful lot like genocide.
No. That's random. If I might add, efficient.
Okay, that delivery was very, very good. They keep repeating the genocide joke with Thanos. And Josh Brolin, God bless him, he delivered that very, very well. It's like, no. See, because it's random. So it's fine. It's efficient. But again, the fact that they had to turn the big bad of the MCU, the guy who basically raised all the stakes, the guy who made any stakes at all in any of the Marvel movies, into a joke. Like, even if this had been amazing on it in its own right, anytime you have to shit on another person's work to elevate your own, it's because yours is not very good. If you have to lower this character to raise up that character, that's bad writing. There should be a way to do it both, to serve them based on who they are through the events of the story, have them make decisions that would reflect their character well, that would portray them in a positive light. And if you can't do that, I'm sorry, but you're not a very good writer. If you have to make Thanos a joke to tell your story, you're a terrible writer, and you should not go anywhere near this material. It's ridiculous.
I mean, if you really wanted to put a label on T'Challa and I as friends.
Oh, yeah, jump points are the best.
Oh, God, the Ravagers are pathetic.
I'm still wondering how exactly my son came to be in your spaceship.
Funny story, guys. You see, I took this job.
I was lost, Baba. Yandu found me.
And from one family reunion.
That's not a good enough explanation. You were lost on Earth. Oh, shit. Go back. Wow.
Sorry, we're close. What, Peter? You can't spare a little time for dear old dad.
Too bad this might spell the end of the world. But that's a story for another day.
Way to just invalidate your own story right at the end. Ugh. Dedication to Chadwick Boseman, because this was his last performance as T'Challa. Oh boy, though. What a waste. What an absolute waste. I don't think there's anything more. Yeah, no. There's no post-credits on these so far. Holy fuck. Well, we got through it. That was goddamn horrible. Yeah. So at the end, as if they hadn't shat on him enough, and well, again, I'm going to say this is not an unlikely scenario. If you had to ask yourself and say, hey, imagine Peter Quill never became Star-Lord. What would he be doing? Probably nothing great, but they made him a fucking Burger King employee, mopping floors, and then Ego shows up. And he's like, it's me, I'm your dad, burp-a-derp. And Uatu says the dumbest thing, that's also 100% true, but ruins this episode. Because the premise of this episode is, what if T'Challa was Star-Lord? And they spend the whole thing going, well, it would be amazing. He'd be great. He would do so much cool stuff. And then they get to the end, and then they leave the big crux of Guardians and why that's a well-written couple of movies and why Ego is important to Peter and to the MCU at large. Uatu says, too bad this probably spells the end of the universe, but that's a different story. They just brush over the fact that, yeah, if Peter doesn't become Star-Lord, Ego will still get him, but he won't have any friends to help him out. He won't have any ability to defend himself. And Ego will take him, absorb him, expand his power, and take over the universe. So this timeline, this little what if, this little alternate universe over here dies. Or rather becomes the singularity that is Ego, because he wins. Because they had to spend 25 minutes making T'Challa the best thing that ever existed, the best thing since sliced bread, and then forget the fact that Ego was out there, and that was the whole point. Which is funny, because when I saw this, I thought they were going to do the obvious dumb thing, which is just make Ego T'Challa's dad. Which would make more sense. Ignore genetics. I'm going to get to that in a second. But just take the story concept of, okay, so say that T'Challa's mom is still the same, but his dad is no longer T'Chaka. So his dad is Ego. So he's a mixed child of a woman who is not in the royal family. So he never becomes a prince. So he wouldn't be missed. So if he's abducted by Yondu, that's perfectly fine because he wouldn't be royalty at that point. T'Chaka's the king. His mom's not. She married him. He's of royal blood. So him and his mom would have just been regular African citizens. They would have just been, people living out in the plains probably. And then he could have gotten abducted very easily and then gone on space adventure. Sure, fine. It still would have made no sense because if those two people, if T'Chaka and I forget his mom's name, if they're not his parents, he'd be a completely different human because that's how genetics works. So it wouldn't be T'Challa and he wouldn't look or sound like Chadwick Boseman. He'd be a different human being. So I'm glad they didn't do that, but then the thing they did do was dumber, which is Yondu fell in love with a boy. Basically, I'm sure it's supposed to be fatherly, but it's really not there because there was no reason to take him. He wasn't the one they were after. They knew they were after Peter Quill and then just didn't do it. They were like, fuck it, nah. We don't want to. I don't want to go back too far of a trip. I mean, we're still outside Earth's atmosphere, but nah, I don't want to go back. Fuck, man. Oh, this is why I have to drink to fucking keep watching these. I'll probably still do more of these. They're really getting demoralizing, though. I don't know if I can do them all. There's 10 episodes or something. 15 episodes? I have no idea. Marvel, what are you doing, man? Maybe at some point I'll make a video about something I did like. Everybody's making videos about Suicide Squad right now. I really enjoyed that. I don't know if it doesn't need me to. Here's the thing. I don't have any, because I'm not very good at editing or, figuring out this format yet. I'm not going to know the best way to make a positive thing about something I like. So it's probably just going to be a bunch of me bitching about how bad Marvel is at this point. But I hope it comes through in my words that it's because I love these movies and I love Marvel comics and I've enjoyed the MCU for a very long time. And it's just really going downhill. And we all got to deal with our emotions. I got to talk about it. So till next time.